Good morning and welcome. I am Amy Conrad. My pronouns are she and her, and it is my pleasure to serve on your Board of Trustees. The mission of Unity Temple is welcoming all, inspiring compassion, nurturing wonder, and serving community. In serving community, we are connected to the community of congregations, a local coalition of faith communities. They are holding their annual gathering tomorrow evening, and we'll be highlighting the newly formed task force supporting the West Suburban resettlement efforts. All are welcome to attend. Details at communityofcongregations.org. We warmly invite everyone attending in person this morning to join our community time in Unity House immediately following service. We hope you enjoy today's service. I invite you now to take a moment to greet one another both online and in the sanctuary.
Good morning. Good morning. Hello.
Yeah, it's funny, without my glasses, I could never see anything.
I can see over there with one pair of glasses and right up here with a different pair of glasses.
Our chalice lighter today is Elliot. Elliot likes soccer and skiing and playing tag. He's getting ready. We are Unitarian Universalists. This is the church of the open minds, the loving hearts, and the helping hands. We take care of the planet Earth and each other.
In desperation, we found freedom. In freedom, we found love. In love, we found devotion. In devotion, Spirit found us. In desperation, we found freedom. In freedom, we found love. In love, we found devotion. In devotion, Spirit found us.
love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in love. These were the words of our closing song last week. And this week, last week, this week, and next week really are a continuous reflection on liberating love. Welcome. I'm Reverend Roger, and my pronouns are he, him.
Hi there. Join me standing in body or in spirit and singing Love Will Guide Us, number 131 in the gray hymnal. Thank you. Love will guide us. Peace will guide us. Hope inside us. Lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can hear from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace and strong us, hope inside us, leading the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Please join me in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Emma Farrell. I go by any pronoun spoken with respect. I am a member of your spiritual care team. My purpose up here is to go through the joys and concerns together. And sharing the joys and concerns each week is one way that we live out the proclamation that love is the doctrine of this congregation. There are two ways to share your joys and concerns. There's a book placed outside the sanctuary that you can write in each week, or you can just email us, joysandconcerns@unitytemple.org. If you would like to talk to someone, if you're going through something, as we all go through something at some time, because life does have a way of breaking us down eventually, you are welcome to reach out to one of the spiritual care team members. You might recognize us by these teal hearts we have on our name tags. You can talk to us in person, but you can email us to spiritualcare@unitytemple.org, or you can just email one of the ministers and they will get you in contact with us. Here are the joys and sorrows or concerns that were shared this week. Sarah Harmon says, I'm praying and would like prayers for people incarcerated and trying to re-enter society. Allison Anick says, my stepfather went to the ER on Friday due to an issue with his blood work. So far, he appears to be in stable condition and getting answers. He is resting and in good hands with his medical care. And finally, Teresa Height Murray shares that Her Uncle George passed away a week ago. In his memory, she says, I wish you all well, happy, peace, and love. And of course, we know that there are many joys and concerns that are not spoken in this place right now. Perhaps they are too tender to share. We make space for that. We invite anyone who has a joy or a concern to come and drop a stone in one of the bowls of water at the 4 stations that we have around the sanctuary. As we do so, we invite you to engage in the spiritual practice of silence, to make space for whatever is there in your heart. And at the end, we will sing Spirit of Life once as a benediction. Join us. Let us begin.
Let us unite our hearts and minds in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, our hearts are so full this day, jumbled up with joys and sorrows and griefs and hopes, with the cares of the world and the details of our daily lives. With all that fullness, may we take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and know that we are connected to one another and held by love. All this week, the life of our congregation has thrived. So much has happened as people have meditated together, sung together, listened to one another, as teams have organized and discussed, as we gather to launch our Whole Lives program for some young ones, as kids giggled and squirmed, as parents connected and dreamed, as so many hearts and hands and minds planned and made today's Sunday morning happen. All of this and so much more, creating our beloved community over and over again. With all that fullness, may we take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and know that we are connected to one another and held by love. In the days and weeks to come, may we know our actions make a difference. May we make choices of kindness and compassion so that all may feel connected and held by love. Amen. Blessed be. If you are somebody who likes to come close when you're listening to a story, I invite you to come and sit down on the floor near me. After the story, we have a special treat today. Marty is going to come and teach a song to us. This story is called The Missing Piece. It's by Shel Silverstein. This is an oldie but goodie. It has a little song in it, and I always think of my friend Laura, who taught me the song that's inside this book. The Missing Piece. Have you read this book? Yeah. It was missing a piece, and it was not happy. So it set off in search of its missing piece. And as it rolled, it sang this song. Oh, I'm looking for my missing piece, looking for my missing piece. Heidi-ho, here I go, looking for my missing piece. Sometimes it baked in the sun, but then the cool rain would come down. And sometimes it was frozen by the snow. Does that sound familiar? But then the sun would come and warm it again. And because it was missing a piece, it could not roll very fast. So it would stop and talk to a worm, or smell a flower. And sometimes it would pass a beetle. And sometimes the beetle would pass it. It must have been going pretty slow. And this was the best time of all. And on it went over oceans. Oh, I'm looking for my missing piece. Over land and overseas. So grease my knees and fleece my bees. I'm looking for my missing piece. Through swamps and jungles. Up mountains. It's kind of hard to roll up a mountain. And down mountains. Until one day, lo and behold, I found my missing piece, it sang. I found my missing piece, so grease my knees and fleece my bees. I found my... Wait a minute, said the piece. Before you go greasing your knees and fleecing your bees, I am not your missing piece. I am nobody's piece. I am my own piece. And even if I was somebody's missing piece, I don't think I'd be yours. Oh, it said sadly, I'm sorry to have bothered you. And on it rolled. It found another piece, but this one was too small. And this one was too big. And this one was a little too sharp. Ouch. And this one was too square. One time it seemed to have found the perfect piece, but it didn't hold it tightly enough and lost it. Another time it held too tightly and it broke. So on and on it rolled, having adventures, falling into holes, and bumping into stone walls. And then one day it came upon another piece that seemed to be just right. Hi, it said. Hi, said the piece. Are you anybody else's missing piece? Not that I know of. Well, maybe you want to be your own piece? I could be someone's and still my own. Well, maybe you don't want to be mine. Maybe I do. Maybe we won't fit. Well, It fit perfectly. At last. And away it rolled, and because it was now complete, it rolled faster and faster, faster than it had ever rolled before, so fast that it could not stop to talk to a worm, or smell a flower, or too fast for a butterfly to land. But it could sing its happy song. At last it could sing, I found my missing piece. And it began to sing, I found my missing piece, I found my missing piece, oh my, now that it was complete, it could not sing at all. Aha, it thought, so that's how it is. So it stopped rolling, and it set the piece down gently, and slowly rolled away. And as it rolled, it softly sang, oh, I'm looking for my missing piece. I'm looking for my missing piece. Heidi-ho, here I go, looking for my missing piece. Oh, there's a butterfly. There's the butterfly. The end. All right, here's Marty. What you got for us, Marty?
Just this week, I'm going to talk to you for just a second because I'm so proud of the fact that Unity Temple is a singing church. You know, when you come to service, we're just singing, right? We even have ministers that are singing about missing pieces. Anyway, I want to teach you real quick a song because Chalice Singers, our children's choir, is going to start on February 4th. And if you're between the ages of 6 and 10, and even if you're not, stay put. I want to teach you this song, and we'll be singing this in Chalice Singers. Can you give me a little beat? I need a little support right now. There's honey in the rock for all God's children. Honey in the rock, honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock for all God's children. Feed every child of God. And that's what I want you to sing. Feed every child of God. Come on, everybody. And feed every child of God. Come on, people. Feed every child of God. You got it, you got it. Feed every child of God. Now, when I point to you, you're going to say, feed every child of God, okay? We can have justice if we care. Feed every child of God. Right is right and fair is fair. Feed every child of God. There's honey in the rock for all God's children. Honey in the rock, honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock for all God's children. Feed every child of God. Feed every child of God. One more time. Feed every child of God. So, come on in the other room, and just for a few seconds, I'm going to teach you that song. Hope you sign your kids up for cello singers. It starts on February 4th. Thanks. Come on with me. Come on.
This week's offering will be split evenly with Unity Temple, its mission and programs, getting half, and half being devoted this week, as last week, to aid for gender diverse refugees. Gender diverse refugees from states where there is government, state and local government harassment and worse, targeting gender diverse people, has caused some folks to want to seek a state, a place like around here, like Illinois, that is safer and lacks those efforts to persecute them. Unity Temple is responding to this crisis by directly helping individuals relocate, and your generous support this morning will help this effort happen. May we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts.
This first reading is Touched by an Angel by Maya Angelou. We, unaccustomed to courage, exiles from delight, live coiled in shells of loneliness until love leaves its high holy temple and comes into our sight to liberate us into life. Love arrives, and in its train come ecstasies, old memories of pleasure, ancient histories of pain. Yet if we are bold, love strikes away the chains of fear from our souls. We are weaned from our timidity. In the flush of love's light, we dare to be brave, and suddenly we see that love costs all we are and will ever be. Yet it is only love which sets us free. And this, for nothing is fixed, from James Baldwin. For nothing is fixed, forever, 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 it is not fixed. The earth is always shifting. The light is always changing. The sea does not cease to grind down rock. Generations do not cease to be born, and we are responsible to them because we are the only witnesses they have. The sea rises, the light fails, lovers cling to each other, and children cling to us. The moment we cease to hold each other, the moment we break faith with one another, the sea engulfs us and the light goes out.
Sometimes American Unitarian Universalists treat the 7 principles like they are a stone foundation upon which our faith is based. They are not a stone foundation, and they were never intended to be. It's important to understand some of the context of the creation of the 7 principles. In the mid-1980s, the Unitarian Universalist Association, at the time was the UU organization in the United States and Canada, rewrote the UUA bylaws, including a statement in the bylaws of the key principles broadly affirmed by North American Unitarian Universalists. The 7 principles were intended to be a collective statement of congregations and perhaps individuals. So there was a long process leading up to the adoption of the 7 principles by the UU General Assembly. That process engaged with congregations to figure out what were the key principles for folks in the 1980s. And my sense of what was produced is that it is a snapshot of what most Unitarian Universalists in North America found most important in the mid-1980s. This was not meant to be a forevermore stone foundation. And there was, in fact, a vision that it would evolve, it would be living and evolve over time. It's also important to understand that the 7 principles were a statement of the United States and Canadian Unitarian Universalists. They are not used, have not been used much elsewhere in our global faith except in the Philippines, where they adopted the 7 principles and then added an 8th principle, there is God. It's also good to note that the Canadians left the UU Association about 20 years ago. So what we're talking about today is American Unitarian Universalism, not our global faith. All that said, the 7 principles were a pretty good expression of the core values of Unitarian Universalism. They were widely embraced, and I think they've especially been helpful for us to talk about our faith with other people, and maybe even more importantly, to help us understand our faith internally. Well, around 10 years ago, Paula Cole Jones, a lay Unitarian Universalist who was then the Director of Racial and Social Justice at one of the UUA regional offices, Paula Cole Jones figured out that it seems to be possible for Unitarian Universalists to feel like they're good UUs, that they're living the 7 principles without thinking about or dealing with racism and other oppression at a systemic level. She noted that for hundreds of years, Unitarian Universalists have generally been pretty good at avoiding deep and prolonged engagement with systemic racism. This is how our denomination, as I shared in the fall, was able to publish a bunch of eugenics books in the early 1900s. This is how our association could sort of flirt with taking systemic racism seriously and deeply in the late 1960s, and then collectively step back into indifference. This is how the UUA largely ignored systemic racism in its hiring practices until things blew up in 2017. So Paula Cole Jones noticed, unfortunately, that we as an association need to make a clear, decisive commitment to change that narrative, to deal in a prolonged, deep way with systemic racism and other oppression. And she said, really, the fate of our faith may depend on it. As our nation becomes more thoroughly multicultural, our faith remaining a largely white ethnic faith that doesn't say much about systemic racism would doom us to decline and eventually irrelevance. So, the 8th Principle Project was born. The 8th Principle would specifically call American Unitarian Universalist congregations and individuals to the work of anti-racism and anti-oppression. And to date, around 250 congregations have endorsed and adopted the eighth principle. Well, this consideration of the eighth principle over the last several years opened up a beautiful opposite of Pandora's box. The eighth principle reminded us that our principles are indeed living and adaptable understandings and commitments. They are not a forevermore stone foundation. And maybe some of us thought we shouldn't just think about adding an eighth principle. Maybe we should take a fresh look at all the principles and see if there's something new that we want to say and embody. And that's what happened. This opposite of a Pandora's box was opened, and a UUA-wide process of reconsidering the principles that we find most central began. Now, this process got a really unhelpful name from the start, Article 2. Okay, so Article 2 is a section in the UUA bylaws which contain the 7 principles. It turns out, actually, that when you read Article 2 in detail, it calls for a periodic review of the principles. It just never happened until the eighth principle project came along. So, one of the things that people noticed, including myself, as we stepped back to look at the 7 principles, or even the 8 principles, was that the word love does not appear. Not once. This despite love having been central to our faith for many centuries. And so love feels like kind of a missing piece. In the last couple decades, there's been a renewed focus on love in our faith, including the work of the theologian Tandeyaka, who I know did some work here with this congregation several years ago, something that she called Love Beyond Belief. Well, so in 2020, the UUA charged a team of people to lead a reconsideration of the 7 principles. Happily, from my perspective, Paula Cole-Jones was on this team and brought with her the central idea of the 8th principle. And so that still is in there in this new reformulation. The team engaged with congregations and thousands of Unitarian Universalists, and they came up with a dramatic reformulation of the Article 2 principles. And instead of a set of principles, the revised language focuses on shared core values of American Unitarian Universalism today. Okay, so they also knew that American Unitarian Universalists have a tendency to get lost in words to the point of drowning. And so they commissioned a visual representation of this Article 2 reformulation that is, I think, really helpful. Tanya Webster did it, and here it is. So if you look at this, notice what's in the center. It's love. Love is the chalice, it's the flame, it's the oil that lights the flame. As the Article 2 revision puts it, love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. This particular sense of love that's at the center is what the Greeks called agape. From the Article 2 materials, agape is the selfless love of the neighbor, the friend, and even the enemy. It asks nothing in return. More than a noun, love is a verb. So this is the kind of love that, in the words of Maya Angelou from the poem Emily read, strikes away the chain of fear from our soul. It weans us from our timidity so that we dare to be brave. It is the fuel of justice, the oil of transformation. It has the power to liberate. It is what sparked, as we celebrated last week, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks and the Pullman Porters. It is the spark of liberating love. And suddenly we see, Maya Angelou writes, that love costs all we are and will ever be, yet it is only love which sets right to have this kind of love at the center of our faith. everything flows from it. Next week, I'll talk a little more in the sermon about this kind of love. Let's go back to that picture. If you notice the visual representation, there are also these 6 interconnected values floating around love at the center: pluralism, generosity, justice, interdependence, equity, and transformation. If you look at them, I noticed right away that 2 of these, transformation and justice, are what Unity Temple has labeled its core values, and I would argue that pluralism captures the sense of acceptance in Unity Temple's core values, and interdependence connects the idea of connection. So starting with love this month, we're going to use these core values as our monthly worship themes. Next month, we'll talk about justice and equity, then transformation, interconnectedness, pluralism in May, and generosity we actually had last fall. So we have an opportunity in these months ahead to delve deeply into this Article 2 reformulation. And at the UU General Assembly in June, there'll be a final vote on this reformulation in Article 2. Unity Temple has 12 delegates that can go to General Assembly. It will be virtual this year. I hope we have a full team so that this congregation has a say in this process. Okay, so let's imagine in June, Article 2 reformulation gets 2/3 of the vote it needs to be adopted. Then what happens? Will we have to expunge forever the 7 principles from our memories and lives? Will the 7 principles become that which must never be named? No. Congregations can keep using the 7 principles or the 8 principles or whatever they want. Individuals can keep using them as well. I know for me, there are 2 of the 7 principles that are just bedrocks for my faith. The first one, respect for the inherent dignity and worth of all people. And the last one, the 7th one, affirming that we're part of an interdependent web of all existence. I'm going to keep thinking about those things. They're going to continue being centers for me. And really, it's not like those 2 ideas are not present in the new picture. So we can kind of relax about this, right? I would add, too, and I need to add, that Article 2 specifically contains language that uplifts the individual's right of conscience. So the revised language of Article 2, just like the 7 principles before, is not a creed. It is not a forevermore stone foundation. It is another snapshot, an updated snapshot. And so with the adoption of Article 2, should that happen, I think we would have a new picture to help us reflect on our faith, a new picture that to me feels fresh and updated and right. And I am excited about the opportunity. Well, some of you may be sitting there thinking about Shel Silverstein's missing piece. You might remember that the missing piece actually wasn't very helpful in the end. So you might be thinking, Roger, did you pick that story for Emily to read because in the end you think love's not really going to do it for us? No, that's not why I picked it, not what I was thinking, but I am open to the possibility that we might discover at some point that some other picture, some other words are going to make more sense to us. Maybe that's in 10 years, maybe that's in 40 years. I'm taking the missing piece in kind of a mythic way that like the 7 days of creation. It wasn't really instantly that the piece thought, I don't want this missing piece. It took a while, right? So that's why I picked the story. Sometime in the future, we will take another look at Article 2, and we'll come up probably with something different and new, to which I say, amen. It is not a forevermore stone foundation. So the missing piece story reminds us to take this lightly. James Baldwin was right. For nothing is fixed forever, forever, forever. It is not fixed. The earth is always shifting. The light is always changing. The sea does not cease to grind down rock. Generations do not cease to be born, and we are responsible to them because we are the only witnesses they have. The sea rises, the light fails, lovers cling to each other, and children cling to us. The moment we cease to hold each other, the moment we break faith with one another, the sea engulfs us, and the light goes out. Ours, friends, is a living faith. This reformulation of our core values, I think, helps us take the very next steps.
Please join me and rise in body and spirit in singing our last congregational song, number 1017 in the Teal hymnal. 1017. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love that gives us seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without peace, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our
The closing words are a New Year's resolution by Rochelle Lamb. May you fall in love with this fragile jewel of a world with hard work, real learning, just causes, petitioning, and prayers. May you fall in love with wonder itself, with the grand mystery, with all that feeds you in order that you may live. May you fall in love with heartbreak and see how everything is stitched together. May you fall in love with the natural order of things with tears and tenderness and humility. May this be a magnificent year for you. May you fall deeply, madly, hopelessly, inextinguishably in love. And I invite you to join in the chalice lighting extinguishing words. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again.